Hey, what is going on YouTube? In today's video, we're going to cover the installation process of Semaphore. This is definitely a home lab service that you will want. Now, the reason why I say that is because you can manage all your Ansible playbooks. And not only that, pulls it from your GitLab repository. So this is something we're still building out as I just tested this all out. So bear with me. But in this video, we're going to cover the installation process. We're going to set up our first playbook, and I'm going to show you how it all works from spinning it up from bare bones. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. So the very first step, just to go ahead and start at the very, bare bones level, just as you would, I'm going to go ahead and pull and redeploy my stack. And this will go ahead and update and get rid of everything that we had just done to get Semaphore up and running. So now if we go here, we should be able to not be able to reach Semaphore, as you can see. So now we are starting over. And for those that are interested, I have a few videos talking about Portainer and the different things that I have in my home lab, and how it is all set up. So definitely go check that out. This is very nice because I have this Docker file that I had built out, and that Docker file, if we go into our home lab, the Docker file built us a test lab that I'm using to pretty much, spin up and try out new services and resources. So this was the Docker file that we had built just a couple of weeks ago, and it has our SSH key right into it. So that's nice. We could just spin up machines and already have the key that we've been using for different servers. And then within Portainer, we're going to go ahead and spin up this Docker compose file, and we're going to reference that build that we had just talked about. The Docker file gets pushed into our GitLab container registry, and we're going to reference it here within Docker Compose, and that will be built as a stack within Portainer. Just for your awareness, the other thing that you will need for this at a bare minimum, you can spin it up on just an Ubuntu server like I'm doing, and you will need 22 to obviously get into the server for SSH, and then you will also need 3000. 3000 will be used for Semaphore. Go ahead, if you are using Docker Compose, go ahead and get those ports exposed so then you can reach it in your environment. All right, so then go ahead and SSH into that server. So I'm just using Visual Studio Code in the terminal that's in there and SSH into that test lab that I had just stood up. As you can see, it is bare bones. We have nothing going on here. First thing that you want to do is go ahead and grab the release from GitHub. So you go ahead and go to their github.com, Semaphore UI, go to the releases. There's a few ways to get there. Here's the link to it. And then you're just going to output it to whatever you want. Make sure it's a .tar.gz, and we'll go ahead and pull that down locally. All right, once we have it, we're just going to go ahead and run tar xf to extract it, and then we'll specify the file name. And now you can see that we have Semaphore and license. Next, all we got to do is just run the setup. So Semaphore setup. Again, we're going to do just a test lab essentially. So it's going to be bare bones. And we're going to go with SQLite. Pretty much all the settings are going to be default. A lot of good options here though that you could go ahead and play around with, which is something that we will cover in a future video. In this case, we're going to go ahead and do Jack for the username, jack@jack.com, and I don't remember getting that yesterday, but that's fine. Jack, and we'll do the password Jack. All right. So after you set that up, you will get a little prompt, and it will tell you how to turn it up or turn it on. So go ahead and just run this here. And as you can see, the server is running and it is on port 3000. So knowing that this Semaphore container is running on my Ubuntu server, 192.168.1.107, I'm going to go ahead and head there and head over to port 3000. All right. Once you are here at the login screen, you already know what you did. In my case, I just did Jack and Jack, and we should be able to get right into the initial screen. So we're just going to go ahead and just create a test project. Pretty much leave everything else default. There is a demo option here, but we're just going to go ahead and click on create. First, you're going to want to go ahead and set up your credentials. So here's your key store. You're going to need two credentials essentially. One's going to be for your GitLab, and that's allowing you to access your Ansible playbooks. So if you have not already, get some Ansible playbooks created, do some basic ones like the one that we're going to cover today, get it in a GitLab repository, and you should be just fine. Now, once you do that, you're going to go ahead and create a personal access token. There's plenty of videos about that, but go here at the top, click on your username, and click on settings, and then go ahead and generate a user token. I already have that, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the Semaphore. All right, so now I put in my Git. One thing to note is that the type will be login password, because it will be your username for GitLab, and then your password will be your personal access token. And then the next credential that you want to create is going to be the key, the public or the private key that you are going to use to get into your server, or in this case into your server, the one that you're going to go ahead and want to run this playbook against. So that again is not going to be in this video, but in another video we've talked about this plenty of times. Just go ahead, generate a public key pair, private public key pair, go ahead, upload that to your server, and then grab that private key pair and then upload it here. Just go ahead and click on new key, and we'll just do test lab and then specify SSH key, put a username here, and then here's the private key. Just go ahead and copy and paste it in here. All right, so now we have our credentials. We have the Git credential to go ahead and access our Ansible playbooks, and we have our credential to access our servers to go ahead and run that again. Next, you want to go ahead over here on the left and click on repositories. Pretty straightforward. Click on new repository, and we're just going to do home lab, and we're going to head over to here, go to the base or the root of this directory, and we'll just go ahead and grab that one here, paste that in there. The branch is going to be main, or whatever branch that you have those playbooks on. Access key is going to be git, and then create. Now you have your key store with your credentials, and you have your repository accessing your GitLab. All right, we're almost ready to execute our playbook, but first, before you do that, you have to create an inventory. That inventory will be used in your playbook to specify what host you want to run this against. So we'll go ahead and just put some example in here. So we'll do test lab again. The credentials here is going to be the test lab credential that I had created. Again, this is the public private key pair that you will use and have stored on your public server or on your server, and then that private key that we had just put into this Semaphore. Go ahead down here, go down here. We're just going to click on static, and then we're going to just do test lab. There's many examples of this too, so definitely go read the documentation. There's different ways to go about it. But in this case, you're just going to do 192. You're going to specify the server that you're trying to run this against. And then you could do Ansible user if there's a user that you need to use with this credential. And we'll do that. Perfect. So now we have our inventory set up, we have our credentials set up, and we have our repository. All right, so next we're going to go to task templates. Click on new template, and then we're going to have a few different options up here. But before doing so, now that I see that there's not an option here, I just remembered there are some prerequisites that we have to install on our server. So I'm going to go ahead and kill that server real quick. It's all persistent. It's not going to lose anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and just do sudo apt-get install, and then we're going to install the various packages that are prerequisites for Semaphore. So we need Git, obviously, to interact with the Git repository. We need OpenSSH client, Ansible. As you can see, that's why we didn't have that option there a minute ago. And then we'll do SSH pass, which is, I don't think is really necessary, but we'll do that anyway. Sometimes I wonder why. All right, we'll go ahead and let this install. All right, so after you install those packages, I'm going to go ahead and spin up the server again. Just do a simple refresh, and we should see that we have different options up here. As you can see, we now have the Ansible playbook option. Otherwise, we are able to run a bash script, which is nice. In this case, we're just going to run Ansible playbook. And then it's pretty simple. All we got to do here is go ahead and give it a name. So we'll just do test lab ping, as we're going to test out the built-in ping module within Ansible. This is going to be the playbook file, so it's from the root directory of the GitHub of the GitLab that we had provided. So in this case, we're just going to do Ansible playbooks and ping YAML. Ansible playbooks ping YAML. Inventory is going to be that test lab, repository, home lab, variable group could be empty, and I believe that is it. I went through it pretty quickly, but if we go ahead and click on create, we should be able to go ahead and click on launch, click on run, and if everything went well, we should see. That's good news, I guess, in a way. Let me just go ahead and troubleshoot this key, because sometimes I use the wrong key. 1 second. All right, as you can see, after I changed the SSH key, just a simple mistake. I have multiple keys. I uploaded the wrong one, and the key pair did not match. So in this case, once I uploaded the right key, and you can see that we are able to get right into the, in this case, it was a Raspberry Pi, and perform the ping test. Don't worry about this, just a deprecation warning. But in this case, that was all we needed to do to perform a simple ping and verify that everything works. So in this video, we set up a installation of Semaphore. We completely did everything from step 1 all the way to the point where we were able to execute a playbook. I'm going to be continuing to use the Semaphore. I'm going to go ahead, since I like this service or this solution, I'm going to go ahead and put it over into my actual environment. So this way it's not just in a test container that I spin up and spin down. So with that being said, I'm going to cover this more going forward as I continue to build out my home lab and automate everything that I can. So I hope you were able to take something away. If you guys have any questions about this installation or anything about Ansible, go ahead and drop a comment below. And as always, never stop learning.